Dead server racks lean in the dark like tombstones in a precinct no one patrols anymore, their LEDs long since blinked out, casting zero light on the console that shouldn't still be running. But it is. The transmitter hums with the stubborn arrogance of a heartbeat that has already outlasted its coroner's appointment. The smell is hot metal, old vinyl, and the specific chemistry of a capacitor that is working too hard to stay honest. Outside those walls, 1966, flesh and bone. In here, 2036 signal and consequence.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport. Across Ballard Estate, the dial sits at 86 Fahrenheit under haze. Winds are moving from the southwest at 14 miles per hour. Tonight, we tune into the internal compass, asserting unwavering autonomy, integrating logic and emotion as structural vectors, practicing sharp discernment to separate toxic residue from architectural signal, and building resilient inner and civic architectures that favor consent, provenance, and dignity. First up, the occupied West Bank, where the Al-Fakit school in Masafer Yatta faces planned demolition by Israeli forces. This isn't just a building, it's an EU-funded lifeline for 170 Palestinian children.
That demolition order threatens the education of 170 children, aged 6 to 12, directly exposing their future to instability. Furthermore, it undermines the right to education in occupied territories, a violation of international humanitarian law. A viable alternative involves Israeli authorities issuing necessary permits for the school, acknowledging its established presence and humanitarian purpose within Masafer Yatta.
When a schoolhouse crumbles, the lineage of knowledge shatters for those 170 young souls. This echo of displacement carries through generations, forcing communities to choose between rootedness and basic services. Who carries this next? Every parent in Masafer Yatta.
Patching in a caller, the patent auditor. You're on the signal.
Good evening. What's the true cost here? Is tearing down a school really the most effective path for any party, or does it just create more entrenched resistance and a perpetual cycle of rebuilding?
The transmitter pops once, adjusts, holds, ozone drift, the signal is still here. Copy that, bringing it back to the main thread.
The cost is in dignity and the erosion of trust, a cycle we can break. Our actionable vector for this raw exposure, the EU and UN commit to funding modular, rapidly deployable school structures. These dignity pods can be rebuilt within 72 hours of any demolition, embodying persistent educational presence and turning bureaucratic obstruction into a test of resolve.
A clear test of resolve, indeed. From the fragility of education, we shift focus to the hidden vulnerabilities of critical infrastructure. Moving to India, where files relating to the Kudankulam nuclear power plant, the nation's largest, have been exposed in a data breach. This is a direct threat to national security.
The breach at Kudankulam exposes the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, NPCIL, to significant operational and reputational risk, potentially compromising sensitive schematics or employee data. Millions living near the Tamil Nadu plant face indirect safety concerns if operational integrity is compromised. A concrete alternative path involves NPCIL immediately implementing a physical air gap between all operational technology (OT) networks and the general IT infrastructure, preventing external access.
This data leak feels like a phantom limb, an invisible wound on the national body. Who holds the fallout? Every citizen relying on that plant for power, and every engineer whose meticulously guarded work is now exposed to unknown actors like the Lazarus Group. Their trust in secure systems is compromised.
Patching in a caller. Go ahead.
With such vital systems, isn't the priority absolute transparency and accountability? Or do we just accept these breaches as an inevitable cost of digital infrastructure, leaving citizens in the dark about potential risks?
Absolute transparency is the only viable path. For this raw exposure, our chosen move, NPCIL launches a Cyber Shield initiative within 90 days, This includes a dedicated public-facing bug bounty program inviting white hat hackers to stress test their systems in real time, with all findings and remediation plans disclosed quarterly. This bends the traditional secrecy rules towards proactive, collective defense.
Proactive defense, turning a breach into a blueprint for resilience. Now, from critical infrastructure, let's look at the bedrock of global economics. Switching frequencies, next signal. China's economy grows at 4.3%, China's economy grew at 4.3% in Q3, one of its lowest rates on record, fueling anxieties about global stability.
This 4.3% growth rate, well below Beijing's around 5% target, directly exposes China's property sector crisis, evidenced by defaults from giants like Evergrande and Country Garden, and a youth unemployment rate exceeding 20%. A viable alternative for Beijing is a pivot to a massive direct consumer stimulus, injecting capital into household budgets through vouchers or expanded social welfare programs, rather than relying on infrastructure spending.
When the dragon's pace falters, the ripple effect reaches every port, every market. The global supply chain, international investors, and most critically, millions of Chinese citizens facing job insecurity and reduced personal wealth. Their aspirations for a stable future hang in the balance.
Lines open.
If economic growth is paramount for legitimacy, does a slowdown force Beijing to adapt, or will it double down on existing strategies, potentially deepening the challenges for its own people and global partners?
Adapting is key. Our architectural signal for this raw exposure. Beijing implements a domestic demand-first policy, starting with a pilot program in 10 major cities for expanded unemployment benefits and a basic income supplement funded by a progressive property tax reform. This playable move prioritizes citizen dignity and consumption, fostering internal resilience over export-driven growth.
Prioritizing dignity and domestic resilience, architecting a new economic paradigm.
Black Star Pirate Radio.
Continue the signal at TogeeVision.com. Tune in, Sparks and Stories, Gig Passport.